So I just got back from Vietnam and Singapore.
Just when looking at you, open up my eyes, and I'll stay with you forever all the time. And I'm stepping out to leave it all behind. I'm confident your love will be my side. Just when looking at you, open up my eyes, and I'll stay with you forever all the time. And I'm stepping out to leave it all behind. I'm confident your love will be my side.
But anyway, I'm just so thankful for these opportunities that I've had, because they never even seemed possible. Last year for pretty much the whole year, was just holding on to this faith that I know that God is going to come through with finances, because I didn't see how it was possible. All I knew is that travel is where I needed to be this year, and to just reinvest that time into becoming the person that the future needs me to be, and just giving back. And by choosing to take a year, not for myself, but to reinvest in other people's lives, and to reposition my life in a direction of service to others, that's when I've found it all pouring back into me so much. And so I'm so grateful for where this year has taken me, and I'm so grateful that I've had the freedom to be able to just on a whim do things like going on this family trip to Southeast Asia. So I really want to talk about the culture of Vietnam, because to me, what I've realized, especially this year, is that from travel, I really want to experience what the actual culture is of a place, because what's the point of going somewhere and just seeing a few monuments and learning a bit of history if you don't actually get to know the place that you're actually in and what life is like for the people living there. It's up to everyone how they want to do it, but that's just what I've found the personal value for me is. I've learned that when I go somewhere, I don't want to be just a tourist just checking off the list of things to see, but I really want to travel and be someone who's immersing myself in what the place is and their identity, and getting to know that and connecting with that identity. Also this year, something that I've gotten to help me with that is I've gotten this book. It's a decomposition book, but I've just titled it Overcoming the Language Barrier, and it started when I was in Los Angeles doing my Adopt a Block site with the Dream Center. And basically this one place that I would go to every Saturday with the organization was this place called Drew Street, and it was a community that we were serving and connecting with, and most people only spoke or mainly spoke Spanish. And so a lot of us realized that you can't truly connect with someone when there is that barrier of language there. And I didn't feel like we could just come on and impose our white values, even though it's kind of a white country, but still, the heart of their community is their Mexican roots. And so to really show the people that we cared about them, we thought, okay, yeah, we need to be able to connect with them on their cultural level. And so we would try and learn Spanish. And I've had no experience with it before, and I never thought I had any interest in learning it. But I just realized how important it is to connecting with these people, to actually not just impose ourselves on them, but try and understand them, and to try and, use their language to communicate with them. And so this book has been really helpful for me throughout the process of learning Spanish. I would start writing phrases that we would need, or words like numbers, food, etc. And just writing the Spanish word and then the English, so that I could really use it to try and remember the words. And I really noticed how powerful that was in people just feeling a lot more loved and accepted, and that we really did care about them. We weren't trying to just treat them as charity cases, but we did really care about them and want to come alongside them. So I took this book with me to Vietnam, and I did also use it whenever I could. I'll use that as this frame of reference for this video today, about because I didn't just use it as a glossary, I also used it as just writing notes on things I noticed about the culture. But basically on this trip, we started off in Ho Chi Minh City, and then we went up to Hoi An, and then we flew up to Hanoi, and then so that's the northern capital city. And then from there we went to two places. We went to Ha Long Bay, back to Hanoi, and then to Ninh Bình, and then we went back to Hanoi. So yeah, I guess when people have asked me what I thought about the trip, I've said that it exceeded my expectations because I didn't really know what to expect. You know, as I said, I really wanted to go to Ha Long Bay and to kayak there because I'd seen that on TV before. But I didn't know a lot about what the country was actually like besides, you know, the basic mainstream things like rice paper rolls and the conical hats and stuff. So going there, I was really shocked because there were so many tourists. I didn't realize how popular it was because I hadn't met many people who had talked about going there and things. But so that's one thing I noticed about their culture is that they do tourism so well. They really, and I think it was interesting because it's not just a business for them. Obviously, it's a really big part of their economy, but they really serve people. You know, I feel like they're just a heart of their tourism industry is that they're really there to serve the people that are visiting their country, and I think that's really special. So I guess hospitality is just something that they're really good at. But it's interesting as well though, because tourism is such a big part of their economy, they rely really heavily on websites like TripAdvisor to stand out and build a good reputation for their personal brand or for their company or whatever it is. So be warned, if you do go to Vietnam, everywhere you go, every person's going to ask you to rate them on TripAdvisor. Which is just an interesting thing. And I felt like I was always doing things as well. So, you know, to take out that time to do it, I was happy to help them out with that. But it was interesting because I felt like I barely even had time to do that. But that's just me. I'm always busy. And I think they just do tourism to a standard of excellence, which I really appreciate. They're so servant-minded when it comes to hospitality, and they always provide so much. They think of everything like water, towels. So if you come to a hotel, for example, or if you go into a van or which they call limousines, they'll give you, for example, a wet towel to wipe yourself with or something. So it's just, you know, that extra touch which really stands out. They're really focused on customer satisfaction. So like I was saying with the limo, they try and make you feel really special and valued. And so they have this thing called VIP transportation, which is basically a decked out van, which they call a limousine. And with things like tours and even the Ha Long Bay cruise, they make sure that there's always something to do, something to experience. And they're always asking you questions as well, like how are you doing, wanting to know more about your life as well, and just providing really personalized service and building rapport. So, side note on rice paper rolls, actually, it's interesting because they're mainly filled with salad and herbs and things. They don't really have a lot of rice noodles inside, which is interesting because here in Australia, you know, rice paper rolls pretty much half rice noodles, so it's kind of like, where's the filling at? But anyway, and they also eat a lot of their food with lettuce and herbs, so they kind of just wrap everything in it or just add it to it, which is interesting. Yes, they're also very hygienic with the towel thing, but also having toothpicks, I guess that's an Asian thing, taking their shoes off everywhere. And it was really interesting, in Ha Long Bay on the boat, literally as we were getting back onto the main boat, they were hosing the floor so that they'd be cleaning our shoes at the same time. So I thought that was an interesting point of hygiene. But anyway, yeah, something that I thought was quite interesting that made me think of Los Angeles is that in both places there's such a divide between the rich and the poor. And so in LA it's quite separate. There's some areas that are super wealthy, and there's some areas that are a lot more the opposite. So it's kind of two different worlds in the one city, but it's depending on which area you travel to. Whereas in Vietnam, I really noticed, especially in the cities, it's still those two worlds, but it's literally intermixed and interwoven together. So it's really crazy. In cities like Hanoi and even Ho Chi Minh, one shop might be really modern and done up, but then right next door might be something that's literally falling apart, which is really crazy. And okay, oh my gosh, Hanoi, I was just so much to say, but there's literally just exposed electrical wires tied up together, just hanging off everywhere. I thought, how is this safe? But that was something that, things like that make it look like a third world country, but then at the same time there's so many things that are modern and it's even quite, I guess, a hip city because they have all these coffee shops, there's plants hanging out everywhere. So it's such a crazy place. It's so different to Australia or anywhere else. But another thing about the cities is that the buildings are very narrow, especially in Hanoi. And it actually really reminded me of San Francisco, because San Francisco, you've got those narrow townhouses, and yeah, it's kind of everyone lives in apartment style housing, and I guess it's because of, the big population and everything. Something that we were told about the city culture is that everyone likes to sing and go out for karaoke, and I guess everyone just has that fun-loving spirit. We didn't necessarily see that, but that's just what we were told by a local. But something we did see, which was really interesting, is that everyone likes to just hang out on the street, literally. You don't necessarily see people walking down the footpaths or the sidewalks everywhere because everyone's on their motorbikes. Yeah, everyone likes to, especially at night, just hang out on the street. And so they have all these small little plastic chairs. They'll just sit with their friends and be drinking or eating. And I thought that was really special, actually. It's just that sense of community and just this love for life, even though they might not be super well off. Everyone, or they might be, but everyone, it's just a different way of life. And yeah, it just seems like they're really fulfilled and satisfied, and that's really cool. Back to the traffic. The traffic is crazy there, and I guess if you've been to a Southeast Asian country, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's really interesting. I don't know how it works. You'd think it shouldn't work, right? Because, okay, so there are lane markings, but it's as if there aren't, because no one really sticks in lanes. Maybe when you go further out to the rural areas they do, but just in cities, it's so crazy. There's lost for words. It's as if people have this sixth sense, because in Australia, especially these days, to get your license is pretty strict. So that you have to head check how many times. You always have to be looking around, be very aware of your surroundings. But it's as if they're not even aware of their surroundings, because everyone's just looking straight ahead, deadpan almost. But at the same time, they know exactly what's going around them. And so people are just weaving in and out. Traffic doesn't stop. It's as if, people are always commuting somewhere. So they're weaving in and out, turning wherever. Horning doesn't really mean you're doing the wrong thing, which kind of means, the sense that I got is, hey, I'm coming, I'm here, whatever, just letting you know I'm here, whatever. So that, I think the horning helps people know what's around them. But in general, I don't even know how the traffic works. It's really crazy. But we didn't see any crashes while we were there, and I don't think accidents are very common. And crossing the road, it's what everyone says. You just walk and they go around you. It's interesting because my Malaysian grandpa would tell me that's how traffic is like in Malaysia, but it's so different actually being there versus just hearing it. And so I'm really glad that I had that experience. But some other things about the culture, bathroom wise, I found it really weird that a lot of the time they don't flush toilet paper down the toilet, but they actually put it in small plastic bins next to the toilet. And apparently it's because they don't have a very good plumbing system. So yeah, they don't flush the toilet paper down. They just put it in bins. And it seems unhygienic in my opinion, but that's just what they do. They are very respectful, their culture, and very considerate of elderly people. So, I mean, I guess everywhere is kind of like that, but especially so they take extra care. Oh yeah, and going back to bathrooms and things. So when we were in Hanoi, we stayed in an Airbnb the last night, and that was because I really wanted to get a feel for the culture, as I was saying, to really know what it was like to live as a local. But part of it also was kind of my poverty mentality, traveling around the US on the super broke life. So I was kind of used to Airbnbs and crashing on people's couches and stuff. But so I guess that was kind of the mindset I had going to it. So for me asking, oh yeah, Airbnb, but then my parents thinking, why would you want to do that? And I just thought, well, that's the only way, right? But anyway, so we just did it for one night in Hanoi. And some things that I noticed about that through that experience was that a lot of the time, because they live in terrace style housing, if you're on the second or third floor or whatever it is, they have the place that we were at least had this really loud water pump. So to use, for example, the shower or the tap upstairs, you have to turn on the water pump. And it was super loud, so that's why it's not on all the time. And also the shower section of the bathroom, it's not really its own enclosed shower. Everything is kind of just all in one in this small room. So it's kind of just a tiled floor. There's literally the shower head, but it's kind of just, it looks like someone attached a shower head to the wall of the bathroom without there actually being a shower, but that is the shower, if that makes sense. So it's all in one, and so basically the shower water goes everywhere on the floor. So they have slippers that they wear that they leave in the bathroom, and so when you're stepping into the bathroom, you put on the shower slippers and you use that to walk around if you go into the toilet to wash your hands or whatever, because the floor might be wet. And we also saw that a bit in a local's house that we were lucky to visit in Ninbin, because yeah, she was very gracious. She let us come to her house and she cooked us food and everything. So we got to cook with her, which was pretty cool. And yeah, it was just a really special experience to actually be welcomed into her house. But that's a whole nother story. I could get to that. So those are some of the main things that I really noticed about the Vietnamese culture. So yeah, it was an incredible experience. You know, there's so much I could say about each of the places we went to, what we did, but this video isn't really to, you know, tell you what I did. This video is to just tell you a little bit about what I noticed about the heart and identity of where I've been traveling. I'll get to Singapore next video, but I hope that from this you have been able to really step into their world and get to know it a little bit more. And even if it's just inspired you to be a traveler, not a tourist, next time you go away. And if that means bringing a notebook with you to write down words, to be intentional with language, or just to take notes about what you notice about the place you're going.
Không có ai thì vâng, chiều hãy qua ngoại. Vâng, chiều hãy qua.
What up, fam? Like, subscribe, comment to my channel.
Sharon and Spencer.
Yep, got some lit content, although I haven't posted in like a month, so it's all good.
But now you can.